Long ago, when the line between gods and mortals was fragile and uncertain, stories were told of men and women who crossed that line, sometimes by grace, sometimes by tragedy, and often by both. These were not merely tales of love or vengeance but of transformation, where the human soul was tested, broken, and remade into something eternal. High voltage sign emoji, Semele and the birth of Dionysus. In the city of Thebes, there lived a princess named Semele, daughter of Cadmus, whose beauty shone like a beacon across the land. When Zeus, king of the gods, beheld her, desire overcame him. He descended from Olympus in secret, cloaked in mortal guise, and lay with her. From this union, Semele conceived a child. But Hera, the jealous queen, soon discovered the affair. Her wrath was patient and cunning. She disguised herself as an old nurse and whispered to Semele, "If your lover is truly Zeus, Lord of Thunder, demand he reveal himself in his full glory. Only then will you know he is no deceiver." Blinded by love and pride, Semele heeded the false counsel. The next time Zeus visited, she begged him for one gift, an oath that he would reveal his true divine form. Zeus, bound by his sacred word, tried to dissuade her, but Semele's insistence could not be denied. When the god unleashed his thunderous radiance, his lightning and fire consumed her fragile mortal body. Yet in that moment of ruin, Zeus snatched the unborn child from her womb, sewing the infant into his thigh until the time of birth was complete. Thus was born Dionysus, the twice-born god, destined to embody wine, ecstasy, and rebirth. Years later, when Dionysus came into his power, he journeyed into the underworld itself. Guided by love for the mother he never knew, he descended through shadow and silence, past the rivers of the dead. He sought Semele and pleaded with Hades for her release. His will prevailed, and he brought her forth into the light. No longer mortal, Semele was remade, radiant and divine. She ascended to Olympus, where she was called Thyone, goddess of rebirth, forever honored among the immortals. Ocean wave emoji, Ino and Melicertes, the leap into the sea. But Hera's vengeance did not rest with Semele alone. Her fury fell upon Semele's sister, Ino, who had raised the infant Dionysus in secret. The goddess drove madness into the mind of Ino's husband, Athamas, until he struck down one of their children in frenzy. Desperate to escape his rage, Ino gathered her remaining son, Melicertes, and fled to the cliffs by the sea. Behind them came the cries of pursuit and the echo of madness. With no hope left on land, Ino clutched her child and leapt into the deep. Yet the sea is not always cruel. Poseidon, lord of the waters, took pity on them. He caught the mother and child in his embrace and transformed them into immortal guardians of the waves. Ino became Leucothea, the white goddess, protector of sailors in distress. Melicertes became Polemon, a youthful sea god who watched over harbors and shorelines. Thus, what began in despair was transfigured into a story of refuge and protection. Sailors who braved the uncertain waters called upon their names, trusting that the mother and son who had once leapt into death would save others from drowning. Eagle emoji, Ganymede, the cup-bearer of the gods. Far from Thebes, in the land of Troy, there lived a prince of extraordinary beauty, a youth named Ganymede. His grace surpassed that of all mortals, and even the gods turned their gaze toward him. One day, as Ganymede tended his father's flocks upon the hills, a mighty eagle descended from the sky. It was no ordinary bird but Zeus himself, transformed. The god seized the boy in his talons and bore him aloft through the winds, up to the shining heights of Olympus. There, among the gods, Ganymede was made immortal. He was given the honor of cup-bearer to Zeus, pouring nectar and ambrosia, serving at the divine banquets. His youthful beauty was eternalized, a symbol of grace and favor. To appease Ganymede's mortal family, Zeus bestowed upon them wondrous gifts, golden horses swift as the wind, and he set the boy among the stars as the constellation of Aquarius, pouring out the waters of life. Thus, A shepherd prince became forever entwined with the heavens, his mortal youth captured in divine eternity. In the ancient land of Sparta, twin brothers were born of Queen Leda. Yet their origins were divided: Castor, mortal son of King Tyndareus, and Pollux, immortal son of Zeus, who had come to Leda in the guise of a swan. Though their fates were unequal, their bond was unbreakable. Together, they were called the Dioscuri, famed for their courage and devotion. They rode into battle side by side, protecting sailors, guiding kings, and defending their sister Helen of Troy. Their strength was legendary, their loyalty unmatched. But destiny caught them unprepared. In a quarrel over stolen cattle, Castor was struck down, his mortal body bleeding into the earth. Pollux, pierced with grief, refused to accept life without his brother. He cried out to Zeus, "Father, grant me to share my immortality with Castor. Let no day pass where I walk Olympus without him." Zeus, moved by this plea, honored Pollux's love. He bound the twins together in a fate unlike any other. They would share immortality, alternating between Olympus and Hades. One day among the gods, one day among the dead. Their bond was written into the heavens as the constellation Gemini, two radiant stars shining side by side. Their story became a symbol of brotherhood, sacrifice, and the truth that love can bridge even the chasm of death. Snake emoji, Asclepius, the healer who defied death. Among the many loves of Apollo was a mortal woman, Coronis. From their union came a son, Asclepius, whose destiny would shake the boundary between life and death. Apollo, god of prophecy and light, entrusted the boy to the wise centaur Chiron, master of healing arts. Under Chiron's tutelage, Asclepius learned the secrets of herbs, potions, and the hidden ways of the body. His hands grew skilled, his mind sharp, and soon his gift surpassed that of any mortal physician. But Asclepius's gift did not stop at healing. He discovered the power to restore life itself, drawing the dead back from Hades' domain. This power disturbed the balance of the cosmos. Death, once certain, became uncertain. Even the gods grew restless. Hades, lord of the underworld, demanded retribution. Zeus, fearing that Asclepius's art would unmake the natural order, struck him down with a thunderbolt. The mortal healer's life ended in an instant, his body consumed by divine fire. Yet Apollo's grief could not be silenced. He pleaded with Zeus, reminding him that Asclepius's gift brought hope to mortals. At last, Zeus relented, and raised Asclepius to the heavens, not as a man but as a god. Crowned with the serpent-entwined staff, symbol of renewal and medicine, Asclepius became the god of healing. Temples were built in his honor, where the sick sought dreams and cures. His legacy endured, proof that compassion and knowledge could triumph even over death. Rose emoji, Ariadne, abandoned and crowned with stars. Far across the sea, on the island of Crete, there lived Ariadne, daughter of King Minos. She was clever and strong of spirit, and when the hero Theseus came to slay the Minotaur, Ariadne gave him the means to survive. She handed him a ball of golden thread, by which he traced his way out of the labyrinth after striking down the beast. In gratitude, Theseus promised her love. He carried her away from Crete, and together they sailed across the wide dark sea. But when their ship reached the Isle of Naxos, Theseus betrayed her. As dawn broke, Ariadne awoke to find herself alone, abandoned upon the shore. Her cries reached the heavens, but it was not Theseus who answered, it was Dionysus, god of wine and ecstasy. He beheld her sorrow and was moved. He spoke words of comfort, promising her not despair, but joy everlasting. Dionysus took Ariadne as his bride. To honor her, he lifted her wedding crown into the heavens, where it became the constellation Corona Borealis, a shining garland of stars. Through betrayal, Ariadne found redemption. Once left to die, she was made immortal, goddess and queen beside Dionysus, her sorrow transformed into eternal celebration. In the time of the Trojan War, The Greek fleet gathered at Aulis, eager to sail for Troy. Yet no wind filled their sails. The seer Calchas revealed the truth: the goddess Artemis was angered, and only a great sacrifice could appease her. The price demanded was terrible: Iphigenia, daughter of King Agamemnon. Agamemnon wavered, torn between his duty as commander and his love as a father. At last, he chose the fate of Greece over his own blood. He summoned Iphigenia under the guise of marriage to Achilles, but when she arrived, the altar of Artemis awaited her. Yet the goddess is not without mercy. At the final moment, Artemis swept the girl away in a flash of light, placing a deer upon the altar in her stead. Iphigenia was carried to a far land, where she became the goddess's priestess. Some say she was granted immortality, a living servant of Artemis, forever caught between sacrifice and divinity. Her tale endures as a reminder that the gods demand much, but also that within sacrifice lies the seed of transformation. 2 hearts emoji, Psyche, the soul's journey to immortality. In another age, there lived a maiden named Psyche, so radiant in beauty that even Aphrodite grew jealous. To humble her, the goddess sent her son Eros, god of love, to strike Psyche with an arrow that would bind her to some wretched fate. But fate played differently. Eros himself was pierced by his own weapon and fell deeply in love with the mortal girl. He carried her to a hidden palace, where they lived together in bliss, though Psyche was forbidden to look upon his face. Doubt, however, is a poison. Urged on by her jealous sisters, Psyche broke her promise and lit a lamp while Eros slept, gazing upon his divine beauty. A drop of oil fell upon him, waking the god, and in sorrow he fled. To win him back, Psyche endured impossible tasks set by Aphrodite, sorting mountains of grain, gathering golden wool from savage rams, fetching water from the river Styx, and finally descending into Hades to retrieve a box of beauty from Persephone. Each task would have broken any mortal, yet Psyche endured. At last, her perseverance moved Zeus himself. He granted Psyche ambrosia, making her immortal, that she might be with Eros forever. Thus, the union of love and soul was sealed, a divine marriage celebrated even on Olympus. Psyche's story remains one of the most profound. The soul, through suffering and trial, is made worthy of eternal love. Fire emoji, Heracles, the hero who became a god. Of all mortals, none bore a life as harsh and glorious as Heracles, son of Zeus and the mortal Alcmene. From birth, Hera's hatred pursued him, sending serpents to his cradle and trials beyond measure. In madness, driven by Hera's curse, Heracles slew his own children. In penance, he was bound to serve King Eurystheus, performing the 12 labors that tested his strength and spirit. He fought the Nemean lion, captured the golden hind, cleansed the Augean stables, stole the girdle of Hippolyta, and descended even to Hades itself to bring forth Cerberus. Through toil and pain, his name became immortal, yet his mortal body could not escape suffering. At last, he was betrayed by a poisoned robe, the venom of the Hydra burning into his flesh. Racked with agony, he built his own funeral pyre and laid himself upon it, surrendering to the flames. But death was not his end. Zeus lifted Heracles from the fire, consuming his mortality and granting him divinity. He ascended to Olympus, reconciled at last with Hera, who gave him her daughter Hebe as wife. Heracles, once mortal and broken, became a god of strength and endurance, honored for all time as the hero who proved that suffering itself can forge immortality. Glowing star emoji, epilogue, the mortal and the divine. From Semele consumed by lightning to Heracles consumed by fire, from Psyche's trials of the soul to the bond of the Dioscuri, these tales reveal a truth the Greeks never forgot, that the line between mortal and divine is fragile, yet filled with meaning. Through love, sacrifice, suffering, and transformation, mortals became gods, or something close to divine. Their stories remind us that within mortality lies the seed of eternity, and that every soul, tested by fate, carries the potential to rise beyond death.